Yeah, let's talk about that. Niccolò Moretti is now the fifth Illinois men's basketball player to enter the transfer portal. And not that I think this would have been a surprise before this all started, Joey, but it's later in the process, right? Like, what, almost a month and a half into the transfer portal opening, days before the transfer portal closes, Niccolò Moretti enters the transfer portal. Understandably, because his role is really in question. Kylan Boswell is here, Dre Gibbs-Allhorn, and probably Ty Rogers look like the backup options at guard. So it's not too big of a surprise, it's just the timing of it. And now the fact that he's the fifth guy, and you might only have two returning scholarship players from the Elite Eight team due to graduations, due to transfers. This is an extreme makeover of this Illinois basketball roster. I don't think Niccolò Moretti makes any of us freak out about what's going on or how this impacts the roster, because let's be honest, he was not going to play probably a huge role on this team, and that's why I understand why he's going in the portal, but it just adds to the layer of, boy, this entire roster, like Brad Underwood is taking this to an extreme in the turnover of this offseason.
Yeah, you're right. Him isn't necessarily surprising, but doing it now. Hold on, does my audio sound okay?
Yeah, I had to flip a button. So
no, you're good. We just let it keep rolling. Who cares? Yeah, him entering the portal now is interesting because to take people behind the scenes a little bit, Jeremy, we talk and you say, okay, it would, look, after the Pittsburgh NCAA tournament, we sat and we thought Andre Curbelo is probably a guy who's going to port. Like, you can just guess where roles are, fits are, and we like to be prepared. So you prepare X, Y, or Z story just in case. A lot of them don't see the light of day, right? But some of them do. And this was one you prepared because you wondered, you knew they were going to bring in another point guard. You knew Dre Gibbs-Allhorn was the guy that they were excited about coming back. And you just kind of wondered where Niccolò Moretti was going to fit into this. But I would have guessed this to happen 2 weeks ago and not now. Also, it's kind of adds to the story of a big offseason of turnover. It is crazy, right? Like, we have to acknowledge it's crazy that this Elite Eight team that they had, you're looking at bringing back two guys. Like, it's not – some of it is very drastic. Some of it's a picture of what college basketball and college athletics are right now. So maybe somewhere in the middle of that. But Illinois has leaned into the portal in a lot of ways, and I understand it is not for everybody. I get it. Like, it is so much change to monitor, to watch, to think about, to wonder how it's April 29th. There's 5 open scholarship spots on a basketball team that we think is going to be good by the time this all ends. But, like, that's a lot. And it's a lot to happen late or kind of getting into early in the summer, late spring. So I get it's kind of jarring, but him in particular, you kind of maybe could have guessed.
Yeah, and I think, Sincere Harris transferring was not a surprise after redshirting. Dane Danger transferring the way, his playing time was up and down was not a surprise. Amani Hansberry, I thought he could have played a role on this team. Luke Goody, I thought he could have played a role on this team.
But when Chester Frazier leaves, 2 of those can get explained away a lot easier, right? And right. Sincere Harris and Amani Hansberry.
And I understand it from Luke Goody's perspective and why he's going to Indiana, where he is probably valued a little bit more, because Illinois already added Jake Davis. They've added Trey White. They're looking to add Benham Rickhouse. Like, they are over recruiting him. And he's like, I've been here 3 years. This is my last year of eligibility. I don't want to play 10 to 15 minutes a game. I want to play 20 plus minutes a game. And I've probably deserved that. So I get it from his perspective. And now you have 5 open scholarships. I doubt they use all of those. Probably 4 is what you're going for. But you've already had
how Brad Underwood's operated, we should say.
Yeah, leaving one scholarship open. But
right.
You've added 4 transfers, and you still probably need 4 more. And you haven't had anything here in a while. So I get some angst from Illini fans. Like, it's been 2 weeks since they've added anybody. We'll see what happens with Benham Rickhouse. If there's anybody else that enters the transfer portal, I know they've been waiting on maybe some guys that could enter the portal. The portal closes May 1st, but you'll still see some names trickle in after that, because all they have to do is put their name in by April 30th, and they could still be in the portal. It takes 48 hours for the NCAA and those schools' compliance departments have 48 hours to kind of check off on those things. But now they got to get starting to add. They got to add more. And that's the thing is, if you don't prioritize retaining some of these guys with NIL dollars, with roles, Joey, you got to upgrade in the portal. You got to fill in the portal. I have full confidence Brad Underwood will do that. But in the meantime, in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, Illinois fans will be wondering, well, how is he going to fill out this roster? Are they going to hit on their top targets? Is Hummerkaus going to be on board? Are they going to get that wing that they're looking for and maybe expect to hit the portal? Are they going to add that big man? So that's where we'll see what Orlando Antigua, Tim Anderson, Jeff Alexander, and Brad Underwood can do over these next couple of weeks, because it has been a quiet 2 weeks in additions.
Yeah, look, they've got a body of work to make you think that they're going to figure this thing out by the time fall rolls around and these guys are all on campus. But I get where it would be a little nerve-wracking when you go 2 weeks without an addition and there's all of these spaces still to fill. And I think I even understand if fans say, man, hey, I would have rather watched Luke Goody for a fourth year at Illinois. I would have rather seen Amani Hansberry take that sophomore jump. And I understand that, because you get excited about these guys when they commit, or in the case of Luke Goody, the last 3 years you've seen of him at Illinois. So there's a lot of reckoning I think people are coming to grips with. It's all reasonable. Like this, it feels like every year we think, oh, okay, this will start to maybe feel normal, and then it just gets a little bit more and more. And whether it be the rule change and the unlimited transfers or just the NIL dollars being thrown around, I understand where it's just, you've got to figure out how you feel about this. But on the other side, we've seen Brad Underwood and this coaching staff add talent. Orlando Antigua doesn't come here with any lack of connections, with any, he's got a past being able to get guys. So you would think that's going to continue here because he's done it here. It's just going to feel like forever to get there. And I think you look at it, right, and I think it's probably going to be the next thing we get into. You're still looking at this roster and saying, okay, well, who's the alpha? Because you've gotten used to seeing an alpha on this team, whether it be Terrence Shannon for 2 years or Kofi Coburn or Iota Sumu, and you just don't see that right now. Maybe Kylan Boswell takes that jump, but I think you think alpha, shot creators, guys who can go get that typically is a wing player, right? Like that's wing player or guard, and that's just not there to this point in time. So I think when you look at the roster as a fan, you think, oh, okay, we got so used to Terrence Shannon doing, getting big buckets on the basketball court. Who's that next year? And that probably compounds into maybe a little bit of the angst that's going on.